So recently, the Garten of Banban developers have been under fire, and I mean, they kind of always have been, but recently, it's been especially true. Now, this isn't the type of video I normally make, but I felt like this was something that needed to be talked about eventually, and I don't know if anybody else was going to, but regardless, I just wanted to get it out there because I feel like I have enough experience that makes me, I'm credible enough to actually talk about this. So a little bit of background, Garten of Banban is an indie horror game that absolutely just throws in the towel and does not try at all. The game has been under fire because of the fact that from release, you could tell that the first priority was profit, and the players' priority was way behind that. And normally that's not too terrible. I mean, it's looked down upon normally, but not as bad as, people are making out to seem. But it's different because that the target audience for this game is very young.
Now what?
Obviously, the target audience is very young. I mean, when you have character designs that look like this, it's very clear that you're going to be attracting a certain type of people, especially a certain age of people. Funny thing about the character design, actually, I made a video on the game, and in my intro kind of skit, I made a monster that was for my hit new indie game. It was a joke, obviously, and I just drew a blob and put eyes on it as a joke. I didn't even play the game yet. Turns out it looked exactly like Captain Fiddles. I had no idea. The game is very obviously, very lazily made. I mean, you can't look at the characters and tell me that there was a lot of passion and thought put into these things. It's so obvious that it's just cash grab after cash grab and taking advantage of the genre as a whole. At launch, the biggest thing, right? Even though the game is free, on the main menu, there was a merch button that you could buy merch for a game that just released and had absolutely zero traction before it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Aren't all games made for profit? Yes, technically. I mean, FNAF definitely made for profit, but there was some passion there, and I think we all have some sort of understanding that when you're contributing with art, you're making an art in some way, you have to have some genuine passion for the subject, and this is not present with Garten of Banban. That's why it's scummy, because it's manipulative in nature due to the fact that young people are coming and watching and playing this game and seeing that you can get a beanie with your favorite pink bird on it. It's just so obvious. This criticism is not as strong for the first game, but it is very much true for the second game. Now, I feel like everybody has noticed some sort of spike in hatred for Garten of Banban with the release of Garten of Banban 2, and that's no coincidence. Obviously, regardless of whether the game was free or not, the game would have received an extra spike in criticism with the release of Garten of Banban 2, but the game was $5 USD. That's more than FNAF 1. That's more than Poppy Playtime Chapter 1, which is free, by the way, and also what the game's ripping off really badly. Poppy Playtime's a whole different discussion. I think it's pretty clear that they kind of had the same outlook because they have a merch button on the main menu and stuff like that, but at least Poppy Playtime has something to offer. There's actually effort being put into these games. It's not just soulless. Now, because of this, the game received a lot, and I mean a lot, of criticism from people all around the world, creators and just Twitter users alike, and they responded in very interesting ways. Not ways that, me personally would recommend, but, I'm not a PR person or anything like that, so I don't know. Mainly, they would go on Twitter and post screenshots of people sending them, things that are really not nice. I don't condone things like death threats or threats of any kind, obviously, so please do not do that after watching this video. Please don't. I think that should be obvious, but it's only fair to address that, number one. And number two, it's very clear that these people do not like to listen to criticism unless it's delivered to them in a very particular way. People don't tend to listen to people yelling at them. So if you can take anything from this video, just go forward and just try to actually make an impact with this. So it started with that, then they tweeted some other bad rebuttals that made no sense. I don't know. But most recently they tweeted this, and it says, "There is a difference between criticizing / making fun of a game and outright scummy behavior. Regardless of what you think of a game, how pitiful is it to fully play it, then refund it, especially if you are streaming it and making many times the original price during the stream." But the real go-getter here is that linked on this tweet are 4 screenshots of tweets and Steam reviews basically calling people out. We have one of a YouTuber that you've probably watched at least once, David Barron, a good friend of mine, me, which was strange, and then a random Steam reviewer that I don't know if they make content, but regardless, if anything, if they don't make content, they're just some random viewer, that almost makes it worse. And I understand that all of these were public. You know, you could go out and find these on your own. You know, I tweeted that, and that's me. You know, it's public, anybody can go see it. Same thing with that Steam review. But as a developer, you hold a responsibility when it comes to these things. You can't just willy-nilly tweet out people's names because of the fact that your following is largely in your favor. So they are going to defend you to the end. When you spat out these things, just showing names of people that, you know, are public enemy number one, basically at this point, it's not a good look from an outside perspective. And in this video, I think this is a good opportunity for me to explain myself because of the fact that they directly pointed me out as one of these people. So I think it's only fair. Number one, Garten of Banban 2 is not worth $5. I'm sorry, it is not. If I were a YouTuber or was not a YouTuber, if I had any social media presence or not, I would have refunded this game after buying it. That is the bottom line. It's just the fact that I went on Twitter and tweeted about it, joking about it. That's what makes the difference, apparently. I don't care if somebody makes $100 off of their Garten of Banban video or not. They can refund it if they want. They spent their $5. They have a right to refund it if Steam allows them to. That's not on them. If anything, you blame Steam. But I also want to say that my Garten of Banban 2 video as of right now doesn't even have 1,000 views. I did not make those $5 back. Not that I care, I'm just saying that was not the point. I did not go into this game saying, you know what, I'm probably going to refund it after playing it. No, I was not. I know that some people did, and for those people, if you actually made a good game, I'm sure that by the end of it, they would be like, you know what, I'm not going to refund it. I actually thoroughly enjoyed that. In the middle of the game, I was like, there's no way that I'm actually going to be, like, not refunding this game. This game is hot garbage. It's a waste of my time. In fact, I was happier before I started playing it. I was actually miserable playing that game.
9819399912. And remember.
Got it.
Frog. Wrong!
I fucking hate this game. And it seems as if they already kind of predicted this because there were so many parts in this game that stretched out the game time just so much, and it was so unnecessary and so blatant that it seems like this retaliation of a tweet just feels like them being mad that their process of making this game longer than 2 hours didn't work out, and they're mad about it. At launch, I did mention the merch button that was there on Garten of Banban 1, but also immediately teasing Garten of Banban 2 at launch of the first game, and then the second game coming out in 2 months. I'm sorry, if a game comes out in 2 months and it's made by 2 people, it's not worth $5. However, there is something that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's the main reason I'm making this video. It's another game that these guys made. If you didn't know, the Euphoric Brothers' first game was not Garten of Banban. In fact, they've made multiple games in the past. They have, Egghead Gumpty, I think it's called, which is certainly a game.
Go away! What is that thing? Well, it's the egg! Pff, of course it's the egg! What am I on about? Ah! What? Was he following me?
And they have a handful of other games that they've made in the past before Banban, but the most notable one being Introvert, a teenager simulator. This is what we're going to be talking about for the most part. This game is the most insensitive piece of junk I've ever played. I did go ahead and play it because I felt like I didn't have the credibility to make this video if I didn't actually experience it for myself. But Introvert, a teenager simulator, to put it bluntly, is a comedy game about school shootings, and it's as bad as it sounds. And I know what you might be thinking, oh, here he goes, bringing up the past, oh, blah, 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 this is, you know, you're tired of cancel culture, whatever, whatever. That could be a criticism that you can make of what I'm saying right now, if it weren't for the fact that it's seemingly a sequel in the works right now. They are still actively working on this game as it stands. I could see Banban being a success and them stopping production, but it doesn't stop the fact that they were intending on making a sequel as of right now. If Banban wasn't a success, of course. And explaining this game as offensive or negligent or ignorant, it doesn't do it justice because it's really insensitive. So in this game, you play as a new kid at this school, and you're a mute kid, which is kind of a gimmick that they kind of make fun of. That's not the point. You go into your class and sit at your table, and you're also sat to another new kid named Chris. Chris tells you straight up that if he doesn't make friends in the first 5 days, he is going to shoot up the school. That's pretty much exactly how he says it. And this is not matched well with the fact that there are many comedic bits thrown in between these supposed to be serious dialogue bits. So you become this guy's friend, and you're kind of tasked with the goal of finding this guy friends, which I'm pretty sure isn't actually possible. So no matter what, you get the same ending. And that ending being exactly what you think it is. Now, it would be one thing if the comedic bits in this game were separated from the serious subject matter of school shootings, but they're not. I mean, at the beginning they kind of are, but by that I mean that they're not directly related. They happen one after another. Still, not great looking. However, it really shows at the end. So throughout your journey, you find out that there's this group of kids that's, you know, kind of like the bullies, and they end up beating up Chris and stuff. And because of this, you, the group of kids, and Chris get sent to the principal's office, where the principal just yells at you, and it's supposed to be funny, but it really isn't. And the cycle of the game just basically goes wake up, go to school, do something after school, then go to bed, and repeat. Every time you go to school, you have the same teacher, and the teacher's supposed to be the comedic relief of the game for the most part. And it just does not bode well, because this is where most of the serious conversations happen. For example, you have this part, I'm gonna show you right now.
Today we have a special person. We have a guest speaker. We have Mr. Frackenshit.
My passages. My passages. My passages. My passages.
Thank you, Mr. Frackenshit, for this motivational speech.
If the Euphoric Brothers aren't called out for making really bad, insensitive games about school shootings, they should at the very least be called out for being chronically unfunny. Now, if you let out a little giggle, a chuckle, or maybe a laugh, I don't blame you necessarily. I mean, it's stupid. I wouldn't say it's funny. It's like chronically 2017. I forget what this game came out, but that's not important. I don't blame you if you did end up laughing at that, or with that, or whatever. But that's because you didn't have that paired with the context of the legitimate danger and threat of a school shooting happening. If you take the comedy bits on their own, that's something else. It's just like, okay, these guys aren't funny, whatever. But you pair it with the underlying theme throughout this entire game of, hey, this guy's gonna shoot up the school. Totally different context there. So no matter what you do, as far as I'm aware at least, you get to school and you notice that Chris isn't there. You sit down, the teacher starts giving his lecture, trying to be funny probably, I forget. You hear the door open, Chris walks in all slumped, and the teacher's like, oh, you're late. Finally, about time you showed up. I think it's supposed to be funny, I don't know. And then Chris pulls out an AK-47, and it happens. So as it happens, the teacher, who has been always kind of like the source of comedy in this game, for the most part at least, he kind of shuffles off away from this while this is all happening, while gunshots are being heard. And looking at it, at first I was like kind of trying my best to write it off as like, oh, it's just like a weird choice of animation or something, because it's very clear that it's like he's trying to sneak off, but it's very obvious that, you know, he's not sneaking off. It's such an odd moment, but it's called out in the newspaper clipping screen credit roll thing that plays immediately after this scene, where this pops up. Teacher of the disastrous class missing after reportedly, quote, walking sideways out of the class moments before the incident. And then you have this picture that, I don't know, I guess it's supposed to be funny because, oh, he's A-posing. I don't know. There's a lot of T-posing jokes in this game too. It's really not funny. I mean, that's really not this. That's not what this video is about. But I think that has to be said. And if it wasn't bad enough, during this section, the camera kind of shifts away from the actual incident happening. You still hear everything happening though, and you see students running away as the camera pans towards the entrance of the school. And then out of nowhere, because oh, this game just couldn't get funnier, they added a giant wolf in the halls that just kind of runs away, and it's like, oh, that's random. That means it's funny. And I was just sitting there, mouth agape, like, this can't be real. But no, it was. So immediately after this takes place, fade to black, immediate cut to this newspaper where there's a bunch of different articles about the happenings of the incident, and only about 2 of them take it seriously, which almost makes it worse because you see clippings like this, school shooting at Happyville High School, and kid responsible for the shooting takes his own life when cops arrive, paired with clippings literally right next to it. Principal of Happyville High School found high on cocaine at his house on the morning of the incident. Massive wolf found roaming around the school and got put down by authorities. Shooting survivors, a mute kid, and a kid wearing a frickin' tank top to school. Saying that this game is in poor taste is just scratching the surface, but believe it or not, it gets worse. In fact, I'll read you the description to the game right now on Steam. In Introvert, a teenager simulator, one of the new guys in school tells you he's going to shoot up the school if he doesn't make friends in 5 days. In the description of the game, this is where it becomes seriously concerning. This game talks about serious issues such as bullying and suicidal thoughts in a new and different way that will hopefully be interpreted better by the new generation, which... a weird way to tackle a subject like school shootings. This project is also personal to me. It is a small universe I created to make my zone out thoughts and stories a reality. That is extremely concerning. This game, a school shooting game with comedic bits, totally extremely insensitive, based on true thoughts that the developers were going through, and still seem to be going through based on the fact that a sequel is in the works, supposedly. Going further into the description, we have the features of the game, such as entertaining but suspenseful gameplay, multiple endings, fully voiced characters, dank and glitched out universe, Gen Z humor. Gen Z humor in a school shooting game. Cool, no, that's, yeah. A turtle in the school is one of the features, which, I mean, it's true, but also not funny considering what's going on in the game. And I'm also 19 and a first-year university student. That is extremely concerning to put in your game about school shootings that was apparently, allegedly, according to you, based on your own thoughts. After releasing a lot of failed commercial games, I realized that I don't care about money and that what I really want to create is my own universe and community. Well, that didn't really end up turning out well, did it? Funnily enough, Introvert, a teenager simulator, also has a merch page, which is very hypocritical. Now, it's one thing to joke about serious topics like this if you have the right to. You know, if you've actually experienced a serious thing like this, like you actually are a survivor of one of these incidents, you have the right to joke about that. Nobody can say otherwise, because that's you. Maybe it's your coping mechanism. Nobody has the right to say you can't do that. However, you do not have the right to do that if you aren't experiencing these things, especially because of the fact that these people live in, I believe, Canada, where this is absolutely not a problem. I mean, does it happen still? Very, very rarely, but still not nearly as much as a problem as it is here in the States. It just makes it all the more insensitive to talk about a subject like this in such a way. Now, before I end, I want to say that I am gonna acknowledge the fact that, you know, this video isn't very structured just because of the fact that I'm kind of upset by this. This is making me really genuinely mad. And you know what? Euphoric Brothers, maybe you shouldn't have made that tweet, because I don't think this video would happen in the first place. You did this to yourself, buddy. Don't support these guys. They're douchebags. Have a great day.